In this video, we'll be hunting a box of nickels. We'll be looking for any nickels older than 1960, including war nickels, buffaloes, or anything older. We'll also be looking for any proofs, foreigns, heirs or varieties, or any other cool things we can find. We do have one confirmed ender in this box. It is right here. It's in 1952. And there's also a couple older looking reverses as well. So let's start the hunt, and I'll bring you in when we have our first find. Roll 4, and we have our first find, and it's one from the 40s. A 1947 out of Philly. Next roll, another 40s nickel, and it is a 1948 out of Philly as well. Roll number 6 had a reverse facing ender, and it turned out to be our first from the 50s. A 1956 minted in Denver. Next roll, and we have a couple more older Jeffersons. First, we have our first from the 30s. It's just a common 1939 out of Philly, not the DDR, but always good to see a 30s nickel. And we have another 1947 out of Philly. Roll 12, and I thought the ender looked pretty old, and it was. It's a 1941 out of Philly. Next roll, and we have yet another nickel from the 40s. This one is a 1940 out of Philly. Just opened roll 20, and I see the edge of our first foreign. Probably just going to be a Canadian, and it is, and it's from 1987. Same roll, and we have a couple more 40s nickels. We have another 1941 out of Philly and a discolored 1947 Denver. Roll 27, a couple more finds. First, we have another 1947 Philly, and we have another 1956 Denver. Roll 29, and we have our third nickel from the 50s. It is a 1958 Denver. Next roll, and we got another 1958 minted in Denver. Once again, next roll, roll 31, but this time we have a nickel from the 40s, and it is a 1940 minted in Philly. Roll 34, another 50s nickel, and this one is a 1955 Denver. Roll 36, another nickel from the 40s, and this one is a 1941 from San Francisco. Next roll, and we have another older Jefferson, and this one is a 1952 out of Philly. Roll 40, and we have a couple more older Jeffersons. First, we have a 1948 out of Philly, and then we have a 1957 out of Philly as well. Next roll, a few more nickels from the 50s, a 1956 out of Denver, a 1958 also out of Denver, and a 1959. That's also from Denver. Roll 43 was our ender, and it is a 1952 out of Philly. Roll 46, and we have another nickel from the 50s, and this one is yet another 1952 out of Philly. Just opened roll 48, and we're going to have foreign number 2 for the box, just a few coins in. It's going to be another Canadian, and this one is a 1998. Same roll, had a couple more older Jeffersons. First, we have another 1940 out of Philly, and then we have a pretty damaged 1957 Denver. That was all for nickel box number 1. I decided to add another box on this video since this first box didn't have anything too great. Did get quite a few older Jeffersons, a lot of them from the 40s, but no better dates or anything. And then we just got 2 foreigns in 2009, no silver buffaloes. Let's move on to box number 2, and hopefully we can get some good finds. Roll 1 of box 2, and we have a find. There is one ender in this box. It's right here, a 1940. And this roll number 1 had a dirty looking ender, and it turned out to be a 1959 out of Denver. Roll number 4, and we did get another 2009 out of roll number 2, but I bring you in because we just got another 30s nickel. This one is yet just another 1939 out of Philly, not the DDR, but as I said, any 30s nickel is a good find. Roll 6, and we have a couple more older Jeffersons. First, we have a 1949 out of Denver. It's not the D over S. And then we have a 1952 out of Denver as well. Roll number 9, and I just got another 1939 nickel. Just like the others, it's just a Philly and not the DDR, and this one is pretty damaged, but that's still a good find. Just open the next roll, roll number 10, and we're going to have our first foreign of box number 2. and it is a Canadian with some gunk on it, and it's a 1993. Same roll as that Canadian, and we have another older Jefferson. This one is a 1940 out of Philly. Roll 16 had quite a few older Jeffersons. Had 4. First, we have a 1940 out of Philly, and then a 1949 that's also from Philly, and then a 1956 and a 1959, both out of Denver. That was a good roll. Roll 18, just opened the roll, and we do have another foreign. It's going to be another Canadian nickel, and this one is a 2001. Roll 22, another 50s nickel. And this one is a 1957 Denver. Next roll, and we have another nickel from the 50s. This one's another 1959D. Roll 26 was the 1940 ender, and it had one more older nickel in the roll. The ender was this 1940 out of Denver, and then it also had a 1957 out of Philly. Roll 28, and we have a good find. Didn't see the edge till just now. We have a Buffalo nickel, and I can already see the date. It's in 1936. It's a common year, and it's out of Philly, but still, any Buffalo nickel is an awesome find. Roll 31, and we have just another 1959 Denver. Roll 38, and we have a couple more finds. First, we have a 1946 out of Philly. That was actually a reverse-facing ender. And then we have this one, which I'm pretty sure is the 1959 Philly, and it's a drier coin, as you can see by the front, but based on the shine, this might be a bit of a stretch. It might have been a 1959 proof, but it looks like it was in a dryer for a while. It might be kind of a stretch, but there's no way to tell. Next roll, and we have a couple more nickels from the 50s. Pretty damaged 1956 out of Denver, and a 1957 out of Philly. Roll 40, and we have another older nickel. This one is a 1941 out of Philly. Roll 42, and we have another 50s nickel, and this one is a 1953 out of Denver. Roll number 46, had a nickel from 1946, and it's a Philly. Roll number 47, second coin in the roll, is a 1950. 1950 Philadelphia is a semi-key date, and 1950D is the rarest Jefferson nickel. Let's see what we have. And it's a Philly, but still, a 1950 Philly, definitely a nickel you don't see too often. That's a great find. Roll 49, another nickel from the 50s. This one is a 1956 Denver. Last roll of the hunt is going to give us one last find. And it is a 1948 out of Philly with some damage. Now it's gone to the wrap-up. Both boxes have been hunted, so let's go over the finds. We ended up with 24 estimates, 4 Canadians from 1987, 93, 98, and a 2001, 3 2009s, 2 Phillies, and a Denver. And then older Jeffersons, we got quite a good amount. We got a few 1939 Phillies. We got that 1950 Philly semi-key date. And then we also got this 1959, which could be a damage proof, but there's really no way to tell. The find of the hunt was definitely that 1936 Philly Buffalo nickel, even though it's a common date. Buffaloes and silvers are pretty hard to get these days, and I'm happy to get one. And overall, this was a pretty good 2-box hunt.